Hi, I'm Michael Marin. At Holy Name Medical Center, we believe that all citizens need to be informed about the important healthcare issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Workplace diversity next on Caucus, New Jersey.
Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by TD Bank, Cohn Resnick, providing accounting, tax, and advisory services for more than 90 years. The law firm of Gibbons PC. Berkeley College. New Jersey Natural Gas, proud to support education in our communities. QualCare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, making healthcare work. And by New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship.
Welcome to Caucus, New Jersey. I'm Steve Adubato. You know, in today's changing society, creating a very diverse work environment has many benefits for both the employer and employees. Here in the studio to discuss the issue of workplace diversity, we have Elizabeth Williams-Riley, President and Chief Executive Officer, American Conference on Diversity. Dawn Marie Montgomery Otis, Vice President, Diversity Lead at TD Bank. Patrick McKay, Professor, School of Management and Labor Relations, Rutgers University. And Michelle Meyer-Ship, Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer, Prudential Financial. I want to thank all of you for joining us. Wow, what an interesting issue, workplace diversity. Not so easy for people to understand. People talk about diversity all the time, right?
Right.
But living it is a very different story, correct?
That is correct.
Talk about it. And by the way, why is it such an important and practical business issue? It's not just the right thing to do,
Right.
you know? It's also good business, right?
That's exactly it.
Talk about it.
It's the right thing to do, and it's good business, and it's really about. I think the interesting part about diversity is there's that big piece of inclusion. It really is diversity and inclusion.
What's the difference?
Making sure that everyone is a part, making sure that all of us around the table are represented and have opportunities that are available to everyone.
How's it changed over the years? I mean, people have talked about diversity a lot over the years. I wonder, Professor, how's it changed, the issue of diversity?
Well, largely, initially, it was an issue of legal compliance, where a lot of government contractors just wanted the requisite representation of certain groups to earn a government contract and the profits that come from it. But the problem with that is that it doesn't ensure a climate of inclusion, as Dawn Marie said earlier. And so what the issue is, do we retain the folks that are recruited, as diverse employees to contribute long-term to the organization? So that's what the current focus is now.
So it's interesting. Someone tuning into the show say, oh, they're doing a show on affirmative action. That's not what we're doing.
Absolutely not.
No.
I mean, going back to the point around business imperative and business necessity, when you look at changing demographics in today's society, over the next 10 to 15 years, we are going to be minority-majority as opposed to the majority remaining the majority.
Play that out a little bit.
So right now, when you go out into the city of Newark or anywhere in New Jersey or any other state, you're starting to see the landscape changing. You're starting to see people of all colors, sexual orientations, able, disabled, in the workplace, in schools, in society, and people
in the media,
everywhere. I mean, and people really need to appreciate that if we don't adjust to the changing demographics, businesses will not survive, because we need to be able to attract those diverse individuals into our companies to help us grow, but we also need to be able to understand how to market to those diverse communities no matter what business we're in. If we can't reach the market, we won't stay in business.
By the way, throughout this program, you're going to see a variety of websites, not just ours, but linked to the organizations represented here to get more information, and also the Professor McKay's research will be highlighted in the Rutgers website you see as well. Let me ask you, your organization has been around a long time.
Oh yeah, 65 years this year.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And by the way, talk about the role of your organization in this whole discussion.
Well, with the American Conference on Diversity, our role is to help equip, retool, and educate individuals in the workplace. So we're looking at the idea of how do we empower these individuals that are in positions and decision-making positions to really be effective in utilizing the diversity that's in the room. It's not enough just to get it in the room, but how do we actively leverage it? How do we be responsible? And how do we respond to and react to those differences that are in the room?
Well, play that out a little bit. It's not enough to just be in the room.
It's not. You have to.
Sorry, Woody Allen just said, remember he said, you're laughing, right? I think he said, I'll paraphrase, success, 98% of success is just showing up, right? It's not enough.
It's not. And not when it comes to diversity, because when people show up, there are all kinds of voids and empty spaces that are there. People make assumptions. And they're not gathering from that individual, they're gathering from what they've been exposed to. So it's more than just being in the room. It's allowing those voids to be filled with positivity and new realities around who people really are and the value of hearing their voices and what they can contribute to the organization and its success.
And I was going to say that's very interesting, Elizabeth, that you say that. It's when you talk about even attracting that great diverse talent, it's not just about attracting them, it's about retaining them.
Yes.
It's about developing them,
Exactly.
growing them. And as a part of that, you look at mentoring programs, you look at different sponsorship opportunities, you look at connections with communities to make sure that we're supporting organizations that mirror our goals and values and our missions. And that's imperative. But again, I think it's, to attain and grow that talent is critical, that diverse talent.
Is it natural? Does it come naturally?
No.
To a lot of people, you say, no, boy, that was quick.
It does. Well,
And how do you teach it?
And that goes back to Elizabeth's point and the reason that we have organizations like hers. We need to educate everyone. And we're not just, people think, oh, we have to educate the white male only. No, that's not true. We have to educate everyone. When I go through the hallways at Prudential, I run into people from all over the world. 60% of our company is outside of the U.S. So you get on the elevator, people are speaking different languages, they're wearing different religious garb, they're speaking, it is really amazing to see the differences in the room. So we all need to learn how to understand each other, how to connect with each other, and what drives different people from different places. It is something that we all need to learn, and even in, I think, all of our work as diversity professionals, we have to continue to grow so that we can educate those around us on how to help make people feel included. I kind of look at it as, you can fill the room with diverse people, you can fill the dance floor with people, but if you're not inviting them to dance, what's the point?
But Patrick, not everybody wants to dance.
No.
Nobody, also if they want to dance, they may not want to dance to the tune that you want to dance to.
Right.
And to be more specific, there's resistance here. And in spite of all the discussion about that it's good business, it's smart, the minority will be the majority at a certain point, not too far in the future, right?
That's right.
There are still, and I don't even know if there are pockets of resistance, maybe more than pockets, correct?
I would say pockets, but also I think it's a matter of the history of diversity as it's been pursued. It's been pursued primarily as a numerical kind of concept and something that we expect magic to happen without kind of a lot of science behind it. That's kind of how I approached it as a research topic. And what we end up finding is what's been said on the panel here is that it's really about, at least from our work, is the diversity climate. Do we have a climate that's fair and integrative of everyone? That's when you see the results that are touted as the benefits of diversity.
Is there a science to diversity?
Yeah, the management of it. That's the difference. You have to make sure you include the management part of it.
I don't understand.
So are you a place that encourages people to speak up and give their different perspectives, or do we allow a dominant coalition to do all the speaking and make all the decisions? That's a business imperative. And there are a lot of businesses, I think of the Diversity Inc. top 50, those businesses are ones that really espouse those principles. They really have participative management kinds of things, career ladders for all groups of people, making sure that diverse workforces all have an opportunity to advance through the company. They have anywhere from social network groups to allow people to connect.
You're shaking your head.
Yeah, one of the things that I found in terms of the way that we deliver our work and having people in a room engaging in thought-provoking conversations, that the resistance doesn't always come just from the ideals of what diversity could mean or the ideals of what inclusion really means, but it comes from the idea that they've been challenged. They're challenging early messages. and that no one likes to be challenged around the
So-
messages that they go. Okay, when you're children, we get messages around who people are from those who are nearest and dearest, our family, our friends. And it's only until we meet someone that challenges that message that we begin to think differently about who we are. And if someone is in a workspace and they've been there for so long, or they've had a role, or they achieved it based on what they believe to be their own realities, when that reality is challenged, resistance comes. Because that means I have to rethink what I've learned, rethink everything I've done in my career path, and say maybe I could have done it differently, or maybe I didn't do it as well as I could have because there were others I could help along the way.
Change is hard.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. You just made me think about a kind of a personal example. I live in a township that over the last 15 years has become much more diverse than it was when I moved there 17 years ago. And I walked into my son's middle school a couple of weeks ago, and I walked into the auditorium and looked up, and the sea of color in that room was stark. I mean, it was 90% diverse. And
What does that mean, 90% diverse?
Non-white.
Is that how we're defining diverse? Non-white?
Well, in this instance, I'm using the school as with regard to race.
Go ahead.
Okay, so when I walked into that school, I used to see all white. When I moved into the township, it was maybe 10%, 15% diverse as far as race. And now when I walk into that township, into that school, into that auditorium, it is very different. And I have actually heard, to your point about resistance, I have heard white individuals who live in the town, I've heard black people who live in the town say, wow, this is amazing. When did this happen? It happened overnight. How do we engage with the new cultures moving into the township? The restaurants are changing, the school holidays are changing, the things that our children are coming home talking to us about are changing. They're coming home telling us about holidays I've never heard of before. And I'm going, what's that? So we all have to learn, and I think the resistance really comes from just an unawareness and lack of knowledge.
Change is scary. Change is confusing. And you know, race is one thing. Ethnicity is another thing.
Yes.
But I'm going to ask you about the whole LGBT piece of the equation.
Right.
Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. You are now talking about a degree of diversity and inclusion that pushes the envelope for many up against a whole range of cultural, religious, and other issues. Talk about the workplace and the importance of that part of inclusion and diversity.
I think, for TD Bank, America's Most Convenient Bank, we have truly prided ourselves on our areas of focus, LGBTA being one of them. And when you talk about sexual orientation, when you talk about the importance of tax equalization, making sure that same-sex partners still have appropriate benefits, talking about the fact of being included. We actually produced a Make It Better video.
Make it better.
Yes, which was phenomenal. It has received great accolade and recognition. It's actually received awards and been up for awards as well. And really the whole point is really to support the LGBT community. Against anti-bullying, we're talking about inclusion, and everyone should be able to bring their true, authentic selves to work. And at TD Bank, that's how we feel. We want you to come to work who you are. Whether you're lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, come to work as you are. Everyone is to be included. And it is a culture and an environment that truly supports that community.
Professor McKay, is this the norm, or is this the exception, what you're hearing right now?
It's the exception. There are many states, for example, that still lack laws providing protections for domestic partner benefits and even termination, based on your sexual orientation. So, no, it's not the norm actually, and so that's a big issue.
Well, I want to add too, I think it also, demographics as far as where you are geographically play into this.
In the country?
I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, I think to your point, at Prudential, we have several employee resource groups. We have 7 of them. And our oldest one is our LGBT. employee resource group. It's known as EAGLES. And much to your point, I mean, that organization focuses on really making sure that our LGBT employees feel welcome in the workplace, are included in the workplace, and are helping educate non-LGBT employees about what it means to be gay, lesbian. What does it mean to be transgendered? What does it mean to be gender variant? Yeah. We just released a study back at the end of the year around LGBT financial awareness. And one of the things we found through that study was that LGBT Americans tend to live in certain parts of the country, New York, California in particular, because they try to find places that are more employee friendly, more friendly to live in communities and things of that nature. So I think you're right. I think there are pockets where there is great resistance, but there are also pockets where the population is very welcome.
Yeah, I think that also lends itself to what you alluded to earlier. How are we defining diversity? Because I think that what often happens is we stick to the who we are. And we don't move beyond that. And I think when we talk about what it means to have diversity, we have to go beyond the who we are to what we've learned, how we lead, and how we interact. So there's that idea of it's not just about defining who you are and how you show up in terms of your people package, but looking at those geographic situations, family situations. It's how you embrace leadership or how you were taught to lead and engage with conversations with others. And also, how are you responding to your own diversity? Have you bought into some of the myths and stereotypes around who you are and you play them out? So really paying attention to that, and that broadens how we can begin to embrace the individual as a whole. So they're not just their sexual orientation. They're more than that.
Where's the place for white Americans in this discussion?
Everywhere.
Because interesting, I asked you, you said 90% of the audience at your son's school was diverse, and you said you defined that as non-white from a racial point of view. Where is the place for whites in this discussion of workplace diversity and inclusion?
Interesting. I'll say in my own work, I've found no backlash effects when we've looked at, for example, enhancing the diversity climate. When there's a fair and inclusive environment at work, everyone benefits from it. There are no backlash effects at all. And that's the point, is not to focus on demography at all. Focus on capabilities. What do people bring and talents do they bring to work to bear on the strategic objectives of the organization? That's the point.
Well, let me add into that. I think, I think that when we talk about, white men and women, I think white men and women are allies in this, big allies. I mean, white men in particular hold the balance of power in corporate America, let's be honest, right? So if we are not engaging our white men and women, our white colleagues, then we're missing a huge opportunity. We're allies. We have to work together. And I think that to your point about resistance, if we're getting resistance because white people aren't feeling included, then we're all going to fail.
And you're not feeling it?
Feeling what? Resistance?
You're not feeling the resistance?
I get it every now and again. I do get it every now and again. I try to understand and meet the person where they're at and understand the source of the resistance. What is this about? Do you feel that you were passed over for a job opportunity, for example, at some point because of a person of color? And let's talk about that. Did you have a bad experience as a child? Were you the subject of some situation when you were younger that's caused you to have
deep stuff.
Yeah, it is deep. And to that point, I think one of the key issues that people don't want to talk about and that we need to talk about is implicit bias. We all have them. Yes. White, black, green, yellow, whatever your gender, race, sexual orientation, we have to get under that to help deal with issues of resistance. Yeah. And we all have to struggle with that because we all have them.
And it's the micro inequities, and that's one of the things. The micro inequities. At TD Bank, we have a micro inequities training for our senior level executives and our people managers. And the great thing about it is it really brings to the forefront those unconscious and conscious biases.
Give us an example.
You and I are in the room talking, all of a sudden here comes Elizabeth walking in the room. When the two of us are having a conversation, you're like, hey, Dawn Marie, how's it going? How was the event last night with your family? I know you had a great time. Elizabeth walks in the room, say she happened to be at the same event for whatever reason. And then she comes in, you're like, hi, Elizabeth. And then you come back to me and keep laughing. It's the way that you interact, the way that you exchange conversation, how you have that subtle difference of you're great and peppy with me, but now Elizabeth walks in the room and now all of a sudden it's just, oh, hey, Elizabeth. And that subtle message that's sent can really put a damper on her conscious, on her emotion, on her feeling, on her productivity at work. And if you do this over and over and over again, you see this unconscious bias, which ultimately is going to affect Elizabeth's performance.
And you can coach and train people.
Yes.
Old dogs learning these new tricks of what? Awareness and communication. Go ahead.
I'm glad you brought that up because I often find myself in a room where I am the only person of color. And I'm working with the top leadership and the managers of a company.
Doesn't sound very diverse.
It is diverse because you know what?
No, if you're the only person of color.
No, but it's not about race. When you talk about diversity of life experiences, diversity of education, diversity of how you have learned to interact and how you have learned to lead, that's the diversity. The person of color doesn't bring the diversity to the room. Diversity already exists just because we're human. That's what's called natural. The idea that we are naturally different. That's the natural part of it. I think the challenge is really helping people to understand and realize that if you are in a leadership role, if you have position of power, you are empowered to make a difference. But you have to be comfortable with that power. And comfortable enough to say, you know what? I know the legacy of what race has done. I know the legacy of what has happened to gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender people in this society. And I understand it enough to say, you know what? I need to be mindful of how I'm making decisions.
That level of awareness.
Call me up. I'll do a training right now. But it requires people to be willing to participate.
How much of the resistance, how much of the challenge or the challenges are a product of generation or generational issues, meaning age? Meaning,
what? A large percentage. And it's interesting, and what I was going to piggyback on with the comment you made, Elizabeth, is when we talk about diversity, you have people with disabilities, you have LGBTA, veterans, age, right? You're talking about the generational. There, women, when you think about it, even corporate America, we talked about corporate America, Michelle, and talking about how really at the top you see white men. And again, going back to your point, Michelle, about allies is everyone can be an ally. Everyone can be in support because at the end of the day, we want everyone around the table to bring their diversity of thought. That's what's good business. That's the right thing to do. And at TD, we believe that. And I'll tell you, it's really quite fascinating. We have a CEO, Barrett Masrani, of our organization, who literally, it starts from the top. He says it with his own words, his own message, and it funnels throughout the entire organization, from our diversity leadership team, through our regional councils that cover our
footprint. Does it have to come from the top?
It does.
It does, because people need to see that. When you're talking about your manpower out in the field, they need to know that. They need to know that that message is not only stated from the top, but it's shown from the top. And Barrett Masrani does that at TD Bank, which I love.
You have to see it. You have to see it. Our chairman has to role model it. Our chairman, John Strangfeld, same. I mean, the
we
messaging.
We just interviewed him at NJPAC.
Did you really?
Yeah, fascinating guy.
Well,
by the way, one of his biggest areas we talked about, so interesting, it was veterans.
Yes.
Including veterans in the workforce.
That's right.
It just hit me. We were just talking about this. Go ahead.
Well, you just highlighted on, that's one of our key initiatives.
Got a minute left, go ahead.
No, that's fine. It's one of our key initiatives is around veterans. But John is very authentic and genuine around this topic. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm having a whole conversation with his senior management team about diversity.
So interesting. In a minute we have left. You're confident, Professor, that people who say things like, hey, listen, I just want to keep things the way they are and just have folks around me who are like me, that those folks can get, I don't want to say religion, but they can get to understand that this is not just the right thing to do, but it is good business.
I think so, but the issue is that we can't overly intellectualize it. The point being that, and part of their training that I'm sure, they involved.
By the way, we'll keep talking off the air because we opened up a huge Pandora's box.
Yes.
Go ahead, and I want to thank all of you. Go ahead, Professor.
I was going to say that they have to feel it.
Thanks for watching. Now let's continue the conversation about this and other important topics and issues on Facebook. Visit my page at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. And 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by TD Bank, Cohn Resnick, providing accounting, tax, and advisory services for more than 90 years. The law firm of Gibbons, P.C. Berkeley College. New Jersey Natural Gas, proud to support education in our communities. QualCare, Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, making healthcare work. And by New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, All Business, All New Jersey, The Star Ledger, and NJ.com, Everything Jersey. And by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus, New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
For 17 years, the Russell Berry Foundation has recognized unsung heroes in New Jersey who have done extraordinary things for others. If you know a New Jersey resident whose selfless or heroic actions make them worthy of recognition, you can nominate them to receive the Russell Berry Making a Difference Award. With annual cash prizes of up to $50,000, this award can make a significant difference for a very deserving person. Nominations are accepted online.